What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to a special episode of the JT Sports Podcast. I'm your host, JT. Y'all already know what we're here for. The Super Bowl is finally upon us. The game that we've been waiting all season long for is here. The final 60 minutes of this NFL season comes down to the Philadelphia Eagles and the Kansas City Chiefs in a rematch of Super Bowl 57. Can the Eagles have better luck the second go around against Mahomes and the Chiefs? Can they stop the NFL's evil empire from making history, being the first franchise, the three-peat? We got a lot to discuss on this episode. I'm going to give you guys my thoughts on the game and my prediction. Before we dive into it, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, turn on post notifications if you're new so you don't miss when we drop new content. Remember, we're not just a YouTube channel. You can find us on Apple, Spotify, Amazon, wherever you get your podcast from. The JT Sports Podcast is available. The links are down in description and pinned comment down below. Give us a 5-star review if you enjoy, and let's dive into it. Super Bowl 59 gives us a rematch of Super Bowl 57, where in that game, the Chiefs walked away with a 38-35 hard-fought win. And the Philadelphia Eagles, you're going up against Patrick Mahomes for the second time ever in the postseason. Can you do what only one man has been able to do? And that's beat Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl in the game for immortality, because the only person that's been able to come away victorious against Patrick Mahomes in the biggest game of the year has been Tom Brady. And you don't got Tom Brady at quarterback. You got Jalen Hurts. Can Jalen Hurts play the way he did in Super Bowl 57 and Super Bowl 59? Because he was absolutely outstanding in that Super Bowl. I mean, he was going toe-to-toe with Mahomes. That game alone inflated Jalen Hurts' stock. Because the way we view Jalen Hurts now is not the same way we view Jalen Hurts the last time these two teams faced off in the Super Bowl. Jalen Hurts and Super Bowl 57 coming in was viewed as an MVP candidate, a top 5 quarterback. This year, though, he's been viewed more as a high-end game manager. He hasn't really had to do that much due to how sensational Saquon Barkley has been this year. And Kansas City is going to have a daunting task ahead of them in this game, and that's being able to stop Saquon Barkley, who's been on a mission all year long, over 2,000 rushing yards during the regular season. During this playoff run, he's averaging 6.7 yards per carry. He has 442 total rushing yards to go along with 5 rushing touchdowns. And we've seen Kansas City's run defense struggle against the Buffalo Bills. James Cook in the AFC Championship, he had 85 rushing yards. He was averaging 6.5 yards per attempt, and he had 2 touchdowns. You also got to account for what Josh Allen did on the ground in that game. Also, against the Houston Texans, the run defense looked very vulnerable. Joe Mixon had 88 rushing yards, 4.9 yards per attempt. C.J. Stroud was also doing some work with his legs in that game. So Kansas City, their run defense has not looked good during their last couple of playoff outings. And when you're going up against a team that not only has Saquon Barkley, but also the best offensive line in the NFL, you're going to have to pull off all the stops. Being Steve Spagnuolo, the Chiefs defensive coordinator, to find a way to limit the impact that Saquon Barkley has on this game. Now, even if you do stop Saquon Barkley, that doesn't guarantee you're going to win. It's so cliche to say that all you got to do to beat the Eagles, stack the box, put 7, 8, 9 guys near the line of scrimmage, and go all out on stopping Saquon Barkley, force the Eagles to beat you with Jalen Hurts throwing the football. But the last time these two teams played, Jalen Hurts was balling out. And Jalen Hurts has shown on several occasions this season that even if Saquon Barkley does have a good game, he's more than capable of being able to shoulder the load. Remember when they beat the Pittsburgh Steelers? The Steelers held Saquon Barkley to under 100 rushing yards in that game, and yet Jalen Hurts picked them apart. And the Steelers had one of the better defenses in the NFL this past season. And with you having to worry about Devonta Smith, A.J. Brown, all of the weapons that the Eagles have in the passing game, this is what makes Philadelphia so hard to beat, because this is the most complete team in the NFL. They have pretty much no weaknesses on any side of the ball. They may have certain positions where they may not be as good as compared to other positions, but I mean, for Philadelphia, you have a huge talent advantage going into this game because you're the better team up front. You got the better offensive line, the better defensive line. You don't got a Chris Jones, but Jalen Carter isn't too far off. He's been one of the best interior defensive linemen in the league this year. Your pass rush has been really good as well. And your pass rush has opportunity to really affect the outcome of this game, because the only time we saw Mahomes lose in the Super Bowl, he never really had a chance to win because Kansas City was just getting train wrecked on the line of scrimmage by the Buccaneers. And Philadelphia, they have a secondary that is able to erase the Chiefs' wide receivers. The Chiefs have a good group of receivers, but they lack a true number one. Xavier Worthy, DeAndre Hopkins, Marquise Hollywood Brown. I don't know how good they're going to look against one of the deepest cornerback rooms in the league. You got Cooper DeJean, Quinyon Mitchell, a.k.a. Guantanamo Bay. You got Darius Slade. They just are so deep at corner, and they match up so well because despite being a team that isn't predominantly blitz heavy or heavily dependent upon man coverage, they are very effective when they choose to do both those two things. Anytime they go man coverage or they choose to dial up the blitz, send extra guys, they're pretty successful. And Vic Fangio going up against Andy Reid is going to be a chess match that if you are a football nerd, you're definitely excited about. Because Vic Fangio, for the last couple of years, has been the best defensive coordinator in the league, not named Steve Spagnuolo. He's been one of the most influential coaches in the league. Literally, a third of the league is running his defense. And he played a little bit of a role in Super Bowl 57 and helping Philadelphia prepare for Kansas City. Now, in this game, with him being the defensive coordinator, what's going to be his strategy for how he's going to attack Patrick Mahomes? Because Kansas City, their offensive tackles aren't good, but they got great interior offensive line play, great guards, really good center. So you're not just going to be able to rely upon rushing for guys all game and think your defense, despite how good you are in the back end, is going to be able to slow down Mahomes. Because one thing we know about Patrick Mahomes is that he always shows up in the biggest games when the moments are the brightest. And anytime Kansas City needs him to come through, he always delivers. When this game gets into the final 15 minutes, that's when Vic Fangio really has to pull out all the stops, because that's when Andy Reid is pulling out all the stops. That's when Andy Reid has some of his best play calls in the fourth quarter. When you play Kansas City, it's not really about what you do the first 45 minutes. It's really about, can you win the last 15? Every team that has fallen short against Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl has done so because they couldn't win in the fourth quarter. They couldn't get that big stop on defense to seal the win for them. They couldn't get that big touchdown late to give them a late lead. You know, for the Philadelphia Eagles, you are the first team that could possibly beat Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl because you have a complete team. You have a team that is good in all three phases: special teams, defense, offense. And the reason why I say the only team to beat Patrick Mahomes is because I don't really view the Buccaneers as a team when they beat Mahomes. When they beat Mahomes, they played well, but they had Tom Brady. Tom Brady owns Patrick Mahomes. Brady has a winning record against Mahomes in the playoffs. He's never lost to him. And outside of Brady, Joe Burrow's the only person who has a playoff win against Mahomes. And the Bengals are the only team that has beaten this team when it's mattered. So Philadelphia, with you looking at this team again for the second time, you should have a better game plan for how to attack Patrick Mahomes. Don't be like the San Francisco 49ers. Do not allow yourself to play conservative. Do not allow yourself to be so scared with Patrick Mahomes being on the field that it causes you to lose some of your edge. It causes you to be less aggressive. You're not going to win this game playing it safe. You're only going to win this game by rolling the dice and taking chances in the final 15 minutes. This is when this game is won and lost. Even if Kansas City does get out to a slow start, we saw like what they did last year against the 49ers in the Super Bowl. They come back from behind. They take control of the game. They get the momentum on their side. It goes into overtime. Instead of going for it on fourth down, the 49ers kick a field goal, and they have their fingers crossed that their defense can get a stop. You don't want to be in that situation if you're Nick Sirianni. You don't want to have to cross your fingers, have to throw up a prayer to God that your defense can find a way to stop Mahomes from getting it done. You want your offense to win this game. You have to take this game by the throat. You have to cut off the neck from the snake, if that's the best way to put it. Because Kansas City is just a team that anytime you give them a little bit of wiggle room, they just find a way to slip through it. They just find a way to hit that escape door ability. You can't allow that to happen. You have the better team. You match up well with Kansas City. Nick Sirianni, if he can make the right decisions late in this game, I like Philadelphia to win. This is going to be a close game. It's not going to be a blowout. But ultimately, I got to go with Kansas City to win. I just can't pick against Patrick Mahomes. Can you? You can say that, oh, it's rigged. They got the refs on their side. Yeah, that helps. But they just always find a way to execute. That's the only way you can put it. They have the true heart of a champion. And the Philadelphia Eagles, yeah, you see them a second time, but the 49ers saw them a second time, and you saw how that worked out. It was the same outcome. And even though you do have a way better defensive coordinator than what you had last time, there still is a good chance that if Jalen Hurts and the Eagles don't put this game away, Patrick Mahomes is going to be the one to put it away. And ultimately, these Super Bowls come down to, can these defenses get Mahomes off the field? Can they keep him from winning it for Kansas City? And ultimately, they come up short. And as much respect as I have for Vic Fangio, I don't know if his defense is going to be able to do it. I really don't. It's just so hard to question the greatness of Patrick Mahomes because they've done it so many times. We've seen it so much over these last couple of years. There's a reason why they're on the precipice of being able to make history and three-peat, and I think they're going to be able to pull it off. I expect this game to be moderate in scoring. Give me Kansas City 24-20 as my final score prediction in this game. I'm taking Travis Kelce to win MVP. Look, he got to have a big game. These receivers for Kansas City, they're not going to be able to hold their own against these Eagles corners. So Travis Kelce, when he gets going, he opens up everything for the rest of Kansas City's offense. So give me the Kansas City Chiefs to win. I got them three-peating as much as it pains me to say it, I really just can't see the Philadelphia Eagles getting it done. I'm rooting for the Eagles to get the win, but I got my money on Kansas City. It's just hard to bet against Mahomes and Andy Reid because they've been here so many times. We've seen them in these spots before, and they always find a way to get it done. And unless Tom Brady ends up walking out the broadcast booth and walking onto the field in some Philadelphia Eagles equipment, and he's the one at quarterback instead of Jalen Hurts, hey, man, I don't see the Philadelphia Eagles being able to get it done.